Hey everyone, it is Kelly Hoey, author of Build Your Dream Network. I can't even say the name of my own damn book this afternoon. That's how it's been one of those days. And yeah, confession time. I'm here with Neil Wainwright, founder of UpHabit. You guys have asked for years. I'm always asked, how do I organize my contacts? Thankfully, I don't have a Ziploc of business cards to show you because I did a little spring cleaning and ditched a bunch of those, but good, you got my Ziploc. I am really quite pathetic, so I've decided I needed to really check out apps and platforms. Neil and his team at UpHabit have been kindly retweeting my blog post. I downloaded 11 apps and immediately deleted 10 for various reasons. UpHabit was the only one I kept, and a big reason on that was privacy. But Neil, welcome to this little conversation.
Thanks very much, Kelly. I'm excited to be here and nervous at the same time.
Oh well, I'm gonna be the one nervous in a second as I make all these grand confessions. Okay, so tell everybody what UpHabit is.
Well, UpHabit's we call it a professional network manager. Personal CRM is another term for it. It's an app that gathers all your contacts into one place. It allows you to set reminders, notes, tags. What we're using now as our kind of longer tagline is build and own your work-life network. So it's something right from university all the way to retirement, where you should really own your network and you should be managing it and nurturing it all the time. And most of the social platforms, or I should say all the social platforms, don't let you do that. So we're here to step in and help with that.
Yeah, because I would say, as much as you could say you can get your contacts off of the other social platforms, I'm not a spreadsheet gal, to say the least. So yeah, downloading an Excel spreadsheet off of something and somehow this information is going to be useful is basically useless to me. This is not your first rodeo in the startup world, is it, Neil? How many is it now? 3, 4? What are we at?
8.
8
startups. Now, some of them I co-founded, some of them were just a little bit like during the .com of the late 90s, like 99, 2000, but it's a total of 8. The last one I ran was CEO for almost 15 years. And that one I sold in 2016.
Okay. So why was this such a big pain point that you thought, I am going to go through the agony of another startup?
I sold that company in 2016. I had 2,000 corporate clients. I had Slack as a customer, Marketo, Splunk, all these companies. And Fitbit, CrossFit. CrossFit's the only one that could actually have hurt me if I did something wrong. But anyways, they were really nice people. And when I sold the company, all of a sudden I had 2,000 relationships, or most of them I had relationship with. And I sold the company and I didn't have them anymore. And I went, well, that's terrible. I got to do something about it. And that's kind of where UpHabit came from.
Okay. Got it. You were like, I need to solve my own problem.
Personal pain, yes.
Personal pain. And it's not enough to have these people in your contact list. It's not enough to have them in your LinkedIn stream. It's not enough to have them in your email. You were like, I need something more than that because this is valuable. This social capital is valuable.
Yeah. And I my first job, I was an engineer. I graduated and I was looking for jobs as a recent grad engineering, or just about to graduate. I never got one resume returned to. And then I went to a cocktail party at the university I go to, and I met someone from an R&D group at one of the big telecom companies. And like the next week, I think I had 5 interviews. And that's when that was my lesson, when I realized it's not what you know, it's who you know, and that's your network. And we should all be building that throughout our lives. As much as I haven't, one thing about being a startup founder, you're just myopically staring at your navel all the time because you're building rapidly a business and you don't have time for anything else. And, I realized after 30 years of doing it the wrong way, it was time to do it the right way. And by the way, that baggie was before I started UpHabit. So if I look at these business cards, I haven't seen them in 7 years since I put them in the baggie.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
Yeah. But we still remember a good business card. I mean, I'm gonna dig around. I'm gonna find the good ones that I kept, because we remember a good business card, and all these things. Your point about college and yeah, like I was saying, you've read my book. You know what I say? It's not who you know or what you know. It's who knows what you know.
Yeah.
You could have had just a nice conversation at a cocktail party. Hi, nice to meet you. Isn't
Right.
the weather great? Go Leafs, whatever. but you talked to someone about what you were doing. And that's the other piece on all of this in terms of college students listening, watching, whatever. If someone is on Twitter or on YouTube and you're just tuning in, I'm Kelly Hoey, author of Build Your Dream Network. I'm chatting with Neil Wainwright, founder of UpHabit. All right, Neil, the reason I didn't delete your app, privacy. Talk to me about why privacy is at the core of UpHabit.
Well, I'll put it very succinctly. If we were ever to want to sell or share our customers' data, we'd all quit, and that would include me. I mean, that's how seriously we treat it. We were working with an ad platform in the fall, and one of our engineers said he wasn't comfortable with their privacy practices and not necessarily even their policy, and we switched the ad platform. Put through a lot more work on our part to redo it to fit that ad platform, but that was the thing that we wanted to do. So it's number one in our set of values. And, you know, personally, I control the company from a shareholder perspective, and certainly I'm the founder and CEO, and it's just not going to happen. We are focused on privacy, and we're going to make it work with that. You know, even we just added social enrichment to our product, which means that if your photos from LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and their profiles and all that stuff now flow into UpHabit. But we did it by asking your permission to look at the emails those platforms sent you. We didn't go to a third-party, data provider where they've harvested your contact information from all kinds of sources without your permission and then integrated with that platform. We decided we were going to do it in a privacy first way, where you just say, okay, yeah, for those emails you can look in my inbox. Everything else you can't. And if you say yes to that, then we do it, and it's private. We haven't really dealt with companies whose practices are a little less than we'd like.
Awesome. Well, look at this. There we go. There we go. Get contact with people on furlough. Look, adding more and more. Okay, so thank you, Timothy, for checking in, and thank you telling us why you love UpHabit. Okay, so I wrote the blog post. I looked at your app. I've been kind of shit at using it. Okay, I know you've got a desktop platform now. Okay, so talk me through UpHabit and some of the ways people are using it, and what you're seeing in terms of what you experience and what you're getting from your avid Timothys, your love UpHabit users, about ways to maximize this tool.
Well, it's interesting, and you mentioned it in your book. It's your relationships only stay as current and as vibrant as you put in effort to do it. The problem with the app economy is that people download an app and they expect it to solve a lot of their life just by downloading the app, right? The reality is you have to put effort into your relationship. So when you download UpHabit, it brings in, we're the Dyson of contacts. We bring all your contacts into one place. I would say Hoover, but that dates me a little bit. So being that we bring in all these contacts, then what are you going to do with them? We have 3 or 4 basic things you do with the contacts. They all come into UpHabit, and then you got to do something with them. Like we put them right now in what's called the Discover tab, and then you go through, and it's literally can be daunting. It'd be 3,000 or 4,000. Some people bring in 15,000 contacts. So you're not going to go through all those contacts, but we have a nice little search window. And as you're talking to people, you go look for their contact. You say, I want to build a relationship with that person. I always make a little note in the description saying how I met them, and if they have kids, dogs, all that kind of stuff. And then I will tag them. I'm very good at categorizing my contacts, and I can add as many tags as I want. So I kind of create it's like a mini Rolodex. I'm dating myself again, but I listen to your podcast. So I use UpHabit as my Rolodex, and so I do a little note about them. I set tags for them, and one other thing I'll do is I'll set a recurring reminder to follow up with them. For us, you can say, hey, I want to talk to them every 3 months. Now 3 months pass, and the name pops up, and maybe you have or haven't talked to them between then and now. But then you can always say, skip or snooze, and we have a feature. Unfortunately, acronym is BS. But it's bulk snooze, and basically it's one little button you tap. You told me I should make you laugh, right?
Oh, yeah, this is good. This is good. Yeah.
So I tap on bulk snooze, and it pushes everybody off. It says how often, how do you want to spread them over the next month? Yes. And do you want to have any left in today? Yes. And then all of a sudden, my anxiety causing 30 people to talk to today becomes 5.
Right.
But relationships aren't about, well, I must talk to them every 90 days. That's not. A lot of people have tried to solve with apps and with web apps and all that stuff. They try and use artificial intelligence. Like every 25-year-old decides they're going to build a relationship robot that's going to, with artificial intelligence, improve your relationships. That's not the way relationships work. If a reminder comes up to talk to them after 90 days and you snooze it for a week, the world hasn't shifted on its axis. You still be able to reach out and talk to them. So when we tried to think about how to do these reminders, we wanted them to be kind of, on a casual basis. Like you can't snooze. Now you can't skip a birthday. Like,
it's like it's reminding you to think about that other person versus reminding you to send some template response.
Absolutely. And in fact, a lot of times I'll look at the contacts and I'll scroll through them and I won't actually act on any of them, but just by looking at their names, I have, it's reminded me about them. Like I got one guy, his name's Chen Fong. He's a founder and associate at the Creative Destruction Lab, which is an incubator for really high growth startups. And Chen is an amazing guy. And it puts a smile on my face just to look at his name. It's not necessarily that that I need to reach out to him today. But if I did, I can also see that I got a LinkedIn icon underneath his name. And if I tap on that, it launches the LinkedIn app straight to his profile. So I can catch up and see what's going on in his life.
Right. So there might be something from there, find something to talk about. So, but you say that now, since you mentioned LinkedIn, some of the stuff you're talking about, so couldn't I just do this using existing platforms?
Not really. One of the ways we describe UpHabit is it's everything that LinkedIn and your phone's address book should do, but doesn't. There's no reminder functionality. There's no that floating reminder like I described. There's just creating notes and tags and everything. I mean, on your iPhone, you can create, one note field and that stuff. We have, unlimited. So they focus on the contact side of it. In the case of LinkedIn, it's a resume database, right? Mm-hmm. But even on your phone, when I look on my phone's address book, I have to look, and I don't want to do it right now, but they have LinkedIn's to social platforms. They probably even have what are the old social platforms that don't exist anymore, but there's probably a field to put in that thing. So they haven't really kept current.
A MySpace?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. There's probably a field for MySpace in there. It's just, my apologies to Tim Cook. I don't believe there's something for MySpace in there, but they really, it's not their business. Relationships and trying to figure out how to build an app to help people with their relationships is my business, and it's my sole focus. My entire team, they're an amazing group of people, strong engineers, designers. Actually, we're almost all engineers and designers. Our sole focus is to do this in the correct way. And, we talked about privacy, and it's hard. That's the other thing. Everybody who decides they want to build a relationship app thinks it's easy. It is not. Because once you build something, Kelly's going to say, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? And then Timothy was on YouTube. I believe I recognize his name. He is one of our users. He'll say, what about this? What about this? What about this? And we've literally, you end up in having to do a lot because relationships mean different things to different people. And if you want to build a universal solution, it takes a lot of effort and time and money and care and attention.
Yeah. Absolutely. And amen to that. Well, I mean, it's too often, I'm such a skeptic of things, as you know, from reading my book and you and I sort of tagging each other and following around on Twitter, anything that's like, hey, the 3 things, or this app will, and I'm like, bullshit, right? Because the apps in all of this is driven by humans, and we are weird, messy, complicated creatures. As soon as you talked AI earlier, there was a great MIT article that was saying how all the AI algorithms have been thrown off by our purchasing habits right now.
Right.
Totally messed up everything, right? So, until you kind of like, I don't know, I always sort of say with networking, you got to grab all the pieces, and it's like critical thinking of, okay, this is what this person's saying on Facebook, but this is what I experienced when I worked with them in the office. And this is what's happening over here. Based on all these data points, how can I make an intelligent guess in terms of the form of outreach or what's, needed or necessary and all the rest of it. Okay, well, here we got another question here. I'm not even what relationships do you use most for building stronger?
It's for me, I edit the description field. I actually tap on the social icons so I can always find their LinkedIn profile, sometimes their Twitter profile, reminders and tags, and that's it. And then I don't know. Those are the main ones I use. I can filter and sort. And by the one of the other things we do, Kelly, that I really wanted to have as a feature is there's one button in our app under settings where you can export all your data. So we don't hold it hostage. If you try and export your LinkedIn data, you get a zip file. If you remember zip files with like 10 to 15 CSVs. I mean, it's just, I know it's a database dump, but it doesn't give you their emails. It doesn't give you their phone numbers. We have one CSV file we produce. It has every bit of the contact details, all your notes, all of the reminders, like everything you've done with that contact just exists in the app, because I wanted people to feel like they own their data and that, we're not holding it hostage. And that's what happens with a lot of these other platforms.
Right. Yeah, it's over there and awkward to get to. And when you initially used it, did you sync your data or did you individually?
One of the things we still have to do is right now, if you say yes to address book, it brings in everything. I would prefer that we didn't do that. It was a design decision we made a while ago that we're going to change later in the summer. So you can pick and choose which contacts, at least initially. Then you go, hey, these guys are okay. I can trust them, because it's, access to your data is very private. And then you can turn it on for the full flow of everything coming in. But it syncs in your address book if you're on an iPhone, soon to be on Android. It brings in all your contacts in your sent folder going back 3 months from Google if you use Gmail, or Office 365 if you use Microsoft. And then during the day, as you email new people and they go in your sent folder, we'll add them automatically to UpHabit. So one of the things I like is there's some random person from like a year ago, because I've been using the app now for over 2 years. Some random person will reach out to me and I'll literally go on UpHabit and I'll actually see when the contact was created, and I'll see some other details. So now that I've been using it for so long, just about anybody I talk to already exists in the product. One other point to mention, when people get concerned about privacy, if they ever want to delete their data at UpHabit, they go into settings, they click delete data, they put in their password, and it's gone. Like, we don't have it anywhere except it rolls through, I think, 30 days of backups for, you have to have backups, and then it's gone. So we don't creep out with the data at all.
Thank you for that. Because it was sort of funny because they've got some more questions here and comments. When I think about us as consumers, the times when we get weirded out about giving our data, and the other times we're just cavalier with it. And I think more people should realize, like, what are you doing? And sometimes with giving, like, not having full access to this data, you're also not having full access to the relationships. You're not having full access to build, whatever your business or expand your career, whatever, because all that data, all that contact information is living on somebody else's social media platform.
Right.
And you don't have it. All right. So question here from George: do you use UpHabit with other tools or alone?
Right now I use it alone. I don't know, George. So this is real. This is a real question, but it's a nice plant. We're actually starting to build integrations between UpHabit and lots of other platforms.
Yeah.
There's some.
But you're not really using it alone. Like, you already gave the example. If someone's got their LinkedIn profile, you're like, this is sort of your main depository, but then you're using it in terms of main for your, like, where you are having your primary contacts and how you're nurturing them. But then you're leveraging off these others to see what these other people are up to.
Yeah, we deep link with 8 social platforms. So LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, Skype, all those things. So we do a bunch of integration. We are going to do a lot more. The other thing that we're adding at the end of the summer is two-way sync, because people have said, wow, so many contacts from like 10 years ago showed up from my phone. I had no idea my phone was so filled with junk. And they delete them in UpHabit, but it doesn't go back. Those deletions don't go back to the phone. So we're gonna add that capability in the late summer too, because for me, I want to become the central place and clearinghouse for the contact data. It's what people own. Again, we're not going to ever sell or share it, and in order to do that, we need to do two-way sync back to Apple's address book, back to Google Contacts, back to Microsoft Contacts.
Yeah, because there's nothing worse than cleaning it up somewhere and then you open up another app or something, and then it's just, or you go in somewhere else and you're like, this is a hot mess.
Yeah, and it took a lot of engineering for us to get that clean up within UpHabit. You notice when you download it and create an account, first thing it does is say, hey, we found 300 duplicate contacts. Do you want to merge them? Thankfully, we have one button to merge them, or you typically uncheck the ones that aren't. Like if you have a whole bunch of John Smiths, you don't want to merge them all into one. But once you've done that, they're merged in our platform. We haven't yet pushed them out to the other platforms. But at least there's one contact. And then what I find really cool is that I did this 2 years ago. I merged them all. But what I find cool is people are always replying from the wrong email address. So you'll be dealing with someone business-wise, and then they'll reply from their personal email account, because we all got phones and we accidentally switch and all. But UpHabit will pick that up. It'll say, hey, there's another Kelly, and it's a different email address. So we don't automatically merge it, because that would be a robot, screwing up your data. We say, hey, this is a possible match. Do you want to merge them? And you say yes. And then all of a sudden I'm gathering people's personal emails. So if they ever switch jobs, I know how to stay in touch with them, just to the nature of how the app works.
But always asking, noticing things and asking versus assuming.
Yeah, like if we see the same email but a different name, we still won't merge it. We'll say Tom and Thomas might be two different names. Right. We're still going to ask, because we're not fully sure if this is a match. Right. If it's the same name and email, we do merge them from different sources, because we know that's a safe bet.
Yeah. But also too, it's just again showing, because someone may say, no, don't do it. Don't. This is just, I'm using UpHabit. Who knows? People are like, it's people forget we're given these tools, right, whether it's a business card or a LinkedIn profile, but because we're squirrely, weird humans, we may use them in different ways.
Yep. And
people forget that. Okay. So Timothy, for me, it's the notes. Having details during the call is very important. I know exactly. Since Timothy seems to be this, active user. Timothy, what's on your wish list? Quick, Neil hostage. I can get you anything you want on the Timothy. Put some questions in there. So the notes feature. I guess people don't mind doing that work of structuring their contacts, remembering how they, customizing, doing things that they want to do, if they can find it easily.
Well, and we want to be really easy for people to use. We're nothing, we're like your address book on steroids, or what LinkedIn should do and doesn't. Like we're trying to help you with your memory, with setting reminders and notes and tags and all that stuff. We're not trying to do robot relationships. A lot of times we see journalists, when they write about personal CRM or professional network manager, which is what we call ourselves, they think that it's robot relationships. And some of the tools are trying to do that. That's not us. I've seen so many AI-focused relationship businesses go under, because it's really not the way people work.
Right. Well, the example I always like to use is in the fall of 2013, my Fitbit cheering me on massively one day. 35,000 steps. It was telling me how fabulous I was, and you're so great, and whatever. Because it only takes AI into context of one thing. How many steps?
Right.
No other picture on anything else. It was like the worst day of my life. I was getting divorced, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I knew if I just didn't keep walking, I'd end up in the fetal position crying. So, right, this is the problem with anything to me that is like solely machine driven, the nuances of our human behavior, understanding, like say right now, an app could be saying, hey, you should email so-and-so, but that so-and-so is, juggling their job, their spouse is in hospital, and they're homeschooling their kids, and they're in the airline industry. So maybe not a good idea to email them to ask them for work because of all of those factors. But
right.
the AI doesn't tell you that.
I had one of those robot AI platforms. I talked to someone who said, "Well, it just recommended I reach out to a friend, but the person's it passed away 2 years ago." Just because, hey, it's been a long time since you reached out and talked to Tom. It might not be a good thing, and Tom might be a divorce attorney that you don't want to talk to,
Right?
So, like,
unless it was telling you, hey, you might want to reach out to Tom. Here's where you can buy a Ouija board.
yeah, it's so, and by the way, the other thing is we're not perfect. Like we're always improving our product pretty much every week. And I got a list longer than both my arms of things that we want to do. I've got one of the best engineering and design teams on the planet to do it, but it still takes time, and for anybody who tries UpHabit or you just tell me what, tell me what you want, and it's our job to deliver on it. My last company, it was an expense management company, so totally different. And I was talking to Slack as one of our potential customers 4 years ago. And I said, the answer is yes, just go ahead and ask the question. And they were like, yeah, sure. And then they asked the question. They found out it was yes for everything because I've been saying yes to other customers for 15 years. I mean, my job is to build a great product that people are going to love. And that is something that takes time, a lot of money, and a lot of effort and attention and listening skills. And that's what we try and do.
Time, attention, listening skills. Sounds like networking.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Timothy. Wish list.
Yeah. So there you go. Two-way sync is amazing. So that's exactly what Timothy would like. And we're going to get him that at the end of the summer, and use UpHabit as my contact manager. I mean, that's literally what he's saying. It's because once we do two-way sync, he doesn't have to ever look at his address book or Google Contacts or Office Contacts. It'll all be in the app. And the funny thing, Timothy, I have to tell you, is that my original spec in almost 3 years ago now for UpHabit included two-way sync. So it is a technical hairball to do. What we don't want to do is delete all your contacts on your phone. You wouldn't like us for that. We don't want us to duplicate all the contacts on your phone a whole bunch of times, and we don't want to do that either. So it's actually, because of the way Apple, in particular Apple, has done their address book, it takes a lot of TLC and a really strong, what I'll call, database to be ready to send it for two-way. And the first time we do it, like I mentioned, suggested merges and things like that, we're going to suggest updates to your address book, and you're going to approve or deny them on a case-by-case basis. And at that point, you can turn it on as an automation once you feel comfortable. But we're being very careful with that because we don't want to mess up your data.
Well, and for someone like me, the data is so messy, so let's all date ourselves. Took a long time for me to get rid of a BlackBerry.
Yeah.
I love that thing. Oh man, with the roll on the side and the keyboard. Oh, anyway, so using so I went from BlackBerry to, let me think. I think I went to Android, then over to Apple.
Right.
These systems don't talk to each other.
Nope.
My contacts are a holy hot mess. And so the idea of like, all right, if I could just maybe start creating it accurately in UpHabit, am I then going to be into it? Like if I've got Gmail contacts, but I'm using a smartphone, like how, like it's somewhere that I can clean things up and then spit it back out so it's right in contacts and correct in Google as well. Yeah,
that's our two-way sync. That's what it'll do.
But I gotta get using UpHabit more so that I can clean up both of those. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, and the other thing you're going to tell, as soon as you start using it, you're going to say, Neil, you got to change this, you got to change that, you got to change this, and I'm going to listen because you're the relationship expert. You're the expert, and we'll fix it and we'll change it, and we just love doing that. I just love getting feedback. I got some 2 days ago about our onboarding. When you first create the app, you kind of go through an experience, but then it kind of falls flat, which is part of what you described. And I'm like, okay, we got to fix that. I don't ever look at it as something we've done that's terribly wrong. It's always an opportunity for us to fix it. Right. And we go ahead and we fix it. We do releases almost every week, and
you got human beings using your app, and we go back to weird, squirrely creatures, and so not surprising that you're finding different ways they're doing things or learning different things from how they're using it, how they're experiencing. And I was excited when you now have a desktop version. Because
Yeah.
the idea of dealing, like, I want to find accurate information on
Right.
this, but in terms of actually managing the contacts, I want to do that on a desktop.
Yeah, our Mac app is probably about 99.9% the same as our iPhone app. So it's good and bad, but it works because the screen's a lot bigger. And we're in late beta with our web app. So it doesn't have all the features of the other platforms, but it's only been out for like 3 or 4 months, and it takes a while to get it up to full speed. The other thing we're doing, and I'm interested in your feedback on this one, is we're adding in probably late June an ability to make introductions from UpHabit. I don't know how many introductions you do on an hourly basis. I won't even say daily or weekly because it's probably hourly. But the problem is, let's say you meet someone new and you got 5 people, and you say, I should introduce you to 5 of my relationships because I can help you with finding a job or whatever it is. You have to write 5 emails. You typically write 1, you copy and paste it. You try and change the names and forget to change it. And it's always got dear wrong name on it. What we're going to do with UpHabit is you're going to be able to go ahead, say, make an introduction, pick the 2 names. It'll fill in a pre-filled template, which is the way you normally do introductions. It'll add their LinkedIn contact and their LinkedIn bio, the headline text, and then you click send. And after that,
here's what I'd like.
Okay.
Interim step on this.
All right. Who what?
An interim step on this. I am the queen of the double opt-in when it comes to introductions.
Right.
I'd like to see I'd rather see hey, this person is, I'd like to hear, if it's you, hey, Neil, this person I'd like to make an intro to. Here's how I know them. Here's their social handles. Here's why they want to talk to you. Can I make the intro? If I can send, if there was sort of like that sort of interim step before making an easy introduction, but I'm all about the double opt-in because, you know from reading my book, too many people do the enthusiastic kind of dump and drive in inboxes. Hey, you two should know each other. Zoop, off they go. And you're sitting there looking at someone going, excuse my language, why the fuck are we introduced?
The double opt-in is version 1.1 of our introduction. So that will be something where you can actually start the intro as a double opt-in. The person will get an email where they can thumb up it. And then when that happens, it comes back to you in the app, and then you can do the real introduction. So we've already been thinking and designing that. And actually,
I'd go just crazy if you all of a sudden it was like, let's make these intros easier with the template and nothing more. Oh my God. Okay, here. So
there's one other little bit coming, is that a week later you can say, I want to know a thumb up or thumb down about how the intro went. So you'll actually get feedback about how the intro went, because I know when I make intros, I get the Neil copied to BCC and then I never hear anything again.
Right.
At the same time, I get introduced to people and I'm hit and miss about how well I follow up. So we're also going to have a received intros ability where it'll remind you, hey, it's time to follow up with Kelly because she just introduced you to someone a week ago. So we're trying to think about everything around introductions.
No, that's awesome. I mean, I think there's massive value in that, aide, or, because like if everyone has in their network someone that they go to for guidance and advice. You can call it, your Yoda, your mentor, your sponsor, whatever. But if you don't thank them, as you know from reading my book, Interview with Allison Levine, led the first all-U.S. women's team up Everest, amongst other things. She's a leadership speaker. When I interviewed Allison for my book and I got her answers back, I had to call her and say, Allie, I need to edit your answers or my book's going to come up in a brown paper package with like a parental warning as to language. Yeah. This whole notion of, first of all, just dumping people in an inbox saying, hey, can you help so-and-so, or so-and-so wanted to meet you, without asking. And then when you do help someone, not letting them know what happened. Busy people, accomplished people who want to help go nuts. And you can lose a relationship over this. Like, now you're dead. Your emails are going to fall in the pile of unanswered and uninterested because you didn't keep the simple thing of saying, had a great convo. Here's the next thing that happened. Like, this is the little bit of follow-up.
Yeah, and so we're going to try and help with that. And again, it's something based on my own experience, both ways. The drive-by stuff and the double opt-in, and then for me, following up on intros that have been made on my behalf is something that I desperately want to do a better job at. So I thought, hey, I got an app, I'll add it.
Well, I also think it's really helpful, particularly in the entrepreneurial world. I've talked to organizations about this, where the organization will make a very valuable intro for an entrepreneur, and then that entrepreneur might get some great outcome,
Yep.
and they're like, "Oh, but I did that," and you're like, "Hold on a minute here." Who made the initial intro? It might have then led like a domino effect to 15 other people to the ultimate decision maker, but someone started the domino back here, and you got to remember who those people are and acknowledge that and help them out. So yeah. Here we got another one for Timothy, and then Jason, I see you, and I see your question.
Good question, Timothy. What about e-business cards, which can be SMS to others? Okay, so you're asking about all my future features. Do we have any competitors on this? I know it is. By the way,
we'll go before you get.
No.
We'll come back to it. So we'll go to Jason's question. Why did you delete the 10 other apps? Well, Jason, and if you go and look at my Twitter stream or UpHabits, you'll find a link to the post. It might be in the notes in YouTube as well. Privacy was a big thing. Massive thing. Someone was like, we can do anything with your data. Here we sell to advertisers. So if anyone didn't have a strong privacy policy, I deleted it. Some of the others I want to refer to were kind of like eye candy networking apps. Hey, we make it easy if you're in the same place. And I was like, this is just bullshit. This is bullshit. This is not meaningfully recognizing the challenge of networking, that networking and maintaining and growing networks is work. And it is not something that is just, kind of soothed with an app and made easy. And I don't need, a location-based app so someone can find me when I'm, walking in the street or back in the day, going into a coffee shop. Hey, this person's close by. You should meet them. No, I don't need that. No, I think it's creepy. So anyway, so those are some of the reasons, Jason, but privacy was a massive one. And as Neil had said, so this was not like a plant. I did not know Neil before that blog post. I did not know Neil. This is the first time we're talking. You are seeing the enthusiastic meeting of minds live right now. So anyway.
But I do want to answer Timothy, where he asked about sending, basically it's basically texting V cards. The challenge in, if you try and text your address book contact record, you might have your home number in it, or if everybody has a home number now, but your cell number, your home address or something. So when we add that feature, and we've actually talked about it quite a bit, we're going to allow you to choose which fields you share when you share your data with a contact, so that it's again, we keep this privacy focus going even when it comes to you offering up contacts.
Yeah. So you can say, hey, here's the information, or this person is business. This is what it is. Oh no, this person, I'm prepared to share some of this personal information with, or whatever, the case may be. So excellent stuff. All right. Any other of your new features you want to share?
Well, for those people that are, and by the way, the introductions features, we're going to call it a super connector feature. So people like yourself, it's not for everybody, because a lot of your life is making and receiving introductions. We're also going to add some integrations to CRM systems like Salesforce. So let's say you're a salesperson, the gentleman on your podcast where he picked up his Rolodex and moved to another job. Well, UpHabit's going to be able to do that, where if I've used my Rolodex and I've uploaded a whole bunch of contacts to my company's CRM, Salesforce, for example, if I could disconnect and I go to another company, I can then upload them somewhere else. Like I'm going to basically do what that was in the podcast, where it's the Rolodex carried between jobs.
Right. Well, relationships are, absolutely, gold. Well, this is also the problem with CRM systems in companies where people don't want to share their prized contacts with anybody else because they're the prize contact, or they're worried that some moron in another department is going to mess up the relationship. I remember one time when I was in a big firm, there was a really big, like, kissing of the ring in the boardroom meeting. You can picture it, right? Big law firm, whatever. And I got a message from one of the people in the meeting who was getting their ring kissed. oh my God, what are you are you here? Blah, blah, blah. So I'm like the lowly manager of professional development, all these M&A dudes, honcho guy, everyone's kissing the ring. I walk up, standing there in reception. This guy sees me and he says to everyone, sorry, I have to go and talk to someone important. Comes over, gives me a hug, like, how are you doing? Whatever, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so then I go back down to my office. Little while later, clearly the meeting's over. The two guys who were organizing the meeting, both, and this is the first time I'm telling this story publicly. These two partners from the M&A group come down to my, I had an interior office. Talk about being like a mushroom, like seriously, the lowly manager of professional development. Anyway, these two M&A partners came down to my office and they were like, so how do you know? And they were all like uppity that somehow I knew this important person, and who was I, this, crappy manager in the law firm and whatever. And it was like so delightful to look at them and say, oh, he's one of my best friends. What are you going to do? No, what are you going to do about it? So people are weird about their contacts, but the ability to take, you might feel more like sharing them. You might get more recognition for what you're doing at work if you're sharing that information, if you're growing it larger, but then being able to take it away.
Yeah, you got to give to the world before you expect anything back. I mean, that's the bottom line.
All right, got another.
Well, download UpHabit. No, the number one networking tip, Kelly, you have a billion better ones, but for me, it's just give before you get, and don't expect to get anything back. The more you give without strings, I think the better it works for you personally.
Yeah. Well, my first tip, Janet. Well, first things, Janet, you're here and you're thinking and worrying about it. So you're already ahead of the curve, as far as I'm concerned. You're also here, and so this. Good time to plug my book again. There's a good place to start networking. Read my book. Lots of ideas in, and the fact that you're thinking about it now, I don't know what point in your career you're at, but too many times people think of networking as this isolated thing they only have to do in a sense of urgency. I need a job. I need more sales, rather than realizing that relationships are what are going to keep your career, your soul, your life afloat throughout, your lifetime. So that's why I'm so picky about them.
I have a question for you. Is that okay?
Oh, it's my video. What are you doing? No, of course, Neil, go for it.
Well, I had one person who said, hey, I got 700 contacts. If I start reaching out to them, I'll never have a life because all I'll be doing is emailing, texting, going for coffees, dinners, and all that stuff. How do you deal with people that are concerned? How do you answer the question to people who say, well, isn't this going to overtake my life and I won't have any time for family or job?
I mean, there's relationships. I always sort of think it's almost like you think of like the ocean, like the tide coming in. Relationships do this, right? There's people that you have an intense relationship with because you work together. Maybe share, maybe they're your dorm or your flatmates, whatever it is, and you have a shared experience in this intense amount of time. And then over the passage of time, it can do this, right? Or there's other relationships you have for a reason because it is sales and you've got to stay on top of it. So you may need to contact them more. But other people, it's like, God, you wish them a happy birthday once a year. You send them a holiday card.
Right.
Maybe you want a reminder their name came up because it's easier than just sort of sitting there thinking, who haven't I talked to in a while? Right? It's also why, and you're not saying this, you're not saying that UpHabit is out there to replace every other platform where so many networking apps make this is the only thing you'll ever need. Like we're going to get rid of Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and TikTok. And no, people use different social platforms. We use them in different varying degrees. And so for me, some of the networking to stay top of mind might be because I am active on all those other social platforms. So a little slow drip over time. A great example is, and I'm thinking I had a chat with him last week. So I stopped practicing law back in 2002. So 98 to 2002, practiced law in New York, did a lot of structured finance. That's a fancy way for saying commercial mortgage-backed securities. And I had great relationship with my clients. I'm still in touch with a couple of them, one in particular. We get together for a drink or dinner once a year. We texted recently to make sure each other was okay. It's the first time we've talked probably in 6 or 7 months. You know, we're going to plan that virtual drink because August, we both have birthdays and chances of getting together in person for a margarita ain't happening.
Yeah.
I started practicing law back in, you know, 2002. But, you know, like when you've spent all-nighters writing prospectuses and seen people at their worst, you know, at 4 a.m, you build a bond. But it doesn't mean I have to have that intense experience constantly. A slow drip once a year, we're good to go. We can maintain the relationship.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh yeah, this is great. I feel like how we network has changed with COVID. It feels less personal. Yeah, Jason, I agree with you, but this is also why I'm adamant that how we use digital platforms, that we remember it's people behind the avatars, that we remember that it is human beings, and we act more like humans when we're on them, not thinking that all of this is a one-way marketing channel and all the rest of it. Okay, so you got lots more features. You got an amazing team. When you got more to share, will you come back and do this again?
Yeah, I'd love to. And by the way, I will notify every one of our users inside the app the day before and an hour before, and you'll get to be flooded with questions.
Hey, right. Hey, you want a new feature? Come and watch this. This is good.
Yeah.
Oh my God. This has been amazing. Yeah, we haven't talked about, listen, some of the things we should talk about next time are, you know, what's your, you know, how are you monetizing this? If you're keeping my data, you know, it was 15 years with your last company before you sold it. What's your exit with this one? We got lots more to talk about, Neil. So you got to come back so we can do this again, but get some of those other new features in. You know, keep Timothy happy. Timothy, you got to come back when we do it again so you could ask for some newer features because we seem to move it along. Damn, this has been fun, Neil. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Kelly. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, everybody.